Okay, quick question before we start, all right? When was the last time you introduced yourself and it actually felt true? I'm not just talking about the job title or whatever it is that you do to make money, right? Not the small talk version. The actual, honest, current answer. Who are you right now? If you actually had to sit with that for a second, then this channel is right for you. I'm Ebbs. This is Ebbs and Flows. And are my hands dry? No. Great. Let's continue. Today I want to actually explain something I created through basically a meltdown, burnout, whatever you want to call it, of my own journey, which is called the identity flow state. So I just want to break down where it came from, what it means, and why I think the way that we've all been taught identity is actually quite broken. So let's get into it. So here's the honest truth. I was done. Okay, I was so burnt out. I was so over life. I was just so confused as to where I was going, what I was doing. It kind of did start with a quiet, not so quiet identity crisis. Midlife crisis, anyone? Quarter life crisis, anyone? Beginning life crisis, anyone? Like, I just feel like we're all in identity crisis at this point. For years, I did what adulthood says you're supposed to do, right? I got a good job. I exceeded in academics. I was quote unquote an all around a good person. And now obviously I still am. Corporate structure, polished CV, all of that, blah de blah. I built a version of myself that functioned really well on paper. But actually, I really didn't recognize the person that I was. Slowly but surely, I started to fully come to terms with that. And I won't lie, it wasn't romantic. It wasn't even, well, it was dramatic, I can't lie. But there wasn't anything specific I could point to. It was more like an internal, like, buffering almost. Burnout that looked like very great ambition on the outside, but on the inside, literally, my body was shutting down. I was on a journey for clarity, and I thought the hardest part was leaving the stability, but actually the hardest part was going through that journey and sitting with the uncertainty of who are you? Without the structure, without the name title, without all of these people telling you like how good you are at a certain thing. Who are you, Ebbs? I couldn't tell you. And actually what really surprised me is when I went looking for resources with this question that I had, there wasn't really much out there. I mean, it seemed like there was a lot out there, but there was a lot of kind of like level up, how to go boss, how to rebrand your life, 5 steps to your next era. There wasn't really anything that resonated with how deeply I felt unaligned with myself. The part of myself where I'd already left the old version and now I'm kind of like in the in-between. I haven't arrived at the new one yet. Nobody was making content like that. Nobody was helping to answer that question. So kind of out of necessity, I just started building tools of my own. Very reflective frameworks, using quite a bit of like my own personal belief system and experiences that I'd had, and obviously experiences of people that I've known throughout my life and currently. So journaling systems, prompts that actually made you think and weren't just quite like yes or no questions or things that were quite generic. Like, how are you feeling today? What would you like to do? What are your goals? What do you feel like your long-term goals? Less generic prompts. That's what I needed. I don't know about you. That season is where Ebbs and Flows was created, kind of out of duress. And it's a play on my name, Ebbs and Flows. The ebbs and flows of actual life. Because nothing about becoming a new version of you is linear or a straight line. We waving, baby, we waving. So somewhere in between kind of like workshopping all of the language around what I wanted to signify, I landed on a framework called identity flow state. An identity flow state is basically a dynamic state of being in which a person moves through life with eternal alignment, self-trust, and evolving clarity. The ability to adapt, shed, and redefine parts of yourself without losing your core sense of being. Becoming takes precedence over a fixed definition. Decisions get guided by intuition, embodiment, and personal truth, not external validation. I love the etymology of it too, because not to get too wordy, of course, but like from the word identity in Latin, it means sameness. Flow from Old English obviously means to move and to stream. And state from the Latin means a condition and a way of being. So literally a condition of continuously becoming one's self. There's even an informal verb, and I use constantly, is to flow state yourself or flow check, right? Meaning to consciously line up your actions and decisions with whoever you are currently, even when you haven't got it all figured out all at once. I don't have to have it all figured out. I'm just flow stating my way through it. Give me a minute, you know? So here's the actual belief behind it all. And this is the part I want to argue for, but not define, okay? Because like everything in this, my kind of ethos of things, definition is where we get stuck, and it doesn't allow for growth and movement and waves and ebbs and flows. We've been taught that identity, like most things, is a fixed contract. You sign it sometime in your 20s. This is my personality. This is my path. This is my whole life thing. And changing it later means that you somehow failed at the first draft when you're like literally a baby. Or even worse, that you were lying then and you're lying now about who you are. I think identity deserves some form of grace. So not like, who even are you as an accusation? And more so, who are you becoming? Just as a normal observation and a normal ongoing question. And to be clear, evolving is not the same as having no center. Identity flow state is very clear on the fact that there is always going to be a core value proposition for you and for your identity, and everything out of that flows around the core. I eventually mapped this out, and the background of this framework and structure is called the identity wave, and it does follow the ebbs and flows. You have the ebb, and it is the backbone of this workbook that I then put together to kind of pull everything through. Can you tell I'm type A? Can you tell I love a Word Excel document? But essentially, I put together this identity reset kit because I really needed to put things down onto paper. And the identity wave framework basically walks you through the ebb, which is the hardest stage where you're actually going through the work right now. The threshold, a stage where you start actively rebuilding, entering flow state. Final stage where you stop forcing a direction and just let the direction find you. And then floating with the current, which is my favorite phase, which hopefully I think I'm coming into right now. So I will eventually like really deep dive into it in a separate video if anybody is even interested. And obviously the link to the workbook is below. But essentially this is what this channel is going to be about. I am all for moving and evolving and growing and finding new things and finding new parts of my identity and having an identity flow state reset. Saying it in front of you. I'm doing it in real time. I'm kind of like my own case study, if you will. I also do a thing on TikTok. If you are on TikTok, please go and follow me there, where I run through celebrities who I think embody identity flow state quite well. And it's quite interesting. There are, I think I have posted some here on YouTube, but if you want the full version that's like kind of like a bit more in depth, go on my TikTok. And those kind of break down people like Kanye West, Rihanna, Angelina Jolie, and it really kind of like molds things together, and it makes it a bit more easier to understand the framework that I'm coming from. I also am always going to do at the end of my videos a flow check, because at the end of the day, if you are not checking in with yourself, how do you know which flow state you're in, right? Any part of this feels like something that you would truly be interested in, if any part of it is something that you might have been searching for that you couldn't find, if it answers a question for you, if it even helps you get to the next question that you will have in your life, I really, really would recommend that you subscribe and follow for more videos, because I think we can help each other, especially building a community around figuring out what our next version or the next version of ourselves could be in our identity. So before I go, quick flow check. Which version of yourself are you currently outgrowing? Let me know in the comments. I would love to read them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.